Hey there, greetings everybody, and welcome here to Prog Monster. My name is Murph. I am the host of this show. This is a show dedicated to progressive rock and other forms of rock music. So, we're back now for the Sunday night Ben's Album Challenge. So Ben is a subscriber of mine and a friend of mine who regularly contributes stuff behind the scenes at this channel, which I much appreciate. He's quite organized, very specific, and has a vast knowledge of rock music, which is really helpful to me in a lot of ways. We do this show every second week. We alternate. He does one show for me called the Great Album Challenge, which comes out one week, and then the next week we do Ben's Album Challenge. So Ben's Album Challenge is this week, and he's chosen an album. Originally we had a different album chose, but we're going to release that for What's New, which will come the following week, not this week, but next week. This album he chose was by a, I'm not sure where this band is from. Originally I had this impression that it was a Australian band, and maybe it is, but I'm not getting that impression after having listened to it though. So this is Billy Thorpe's Children of the Sun. Very bright colored album too. I think it was, according to what I could find out, it was released in 1979, and it's kind of a weird album. I have to say this up front. So before we get going too far, what I normally do is Ben gives me an album, I listen to it, I review it according to how I feel about it, and I give him my favorite song, which was pretty easy this time. So anyways, this is back to what I was saying. This is a kind of a different album. So you've got almost two distinct albums here, or might be considered EPs if you broke them in half. So the front half of the album, to me, is just a poppy mass of cheesy songs, and I don't really care for any of them. I almost got to the end of that first four, I think it was the first four songs, and I was thinking to myself, God, I don't know if I can listen to this whole album. It wasn't up to what I was hoping for. And I understand that the opening track is actually one of the singles, but I just never, and it was the best of those first four tracks. I didn't give any of them a 5 or greater. They were all 5s or less. I didn't like any of them really. I was hard pressed to find much about them that I did like. All pretty poppy songs, and kind of buzzy kind of vocals where he's up and down. I don't really care for that. The best part of the first four songs, I think, was, well, there was actually two parts that I thought were fairly well done, which was the guitar solos, which were all kind of dated sounding. They sounded like 70s stuff, but they were quite good, all of them. And the backing vocals were quite good and clear. The album has good production and good sound to it. So I wasn't thinking I was going to go very far with this, but I thought, you know what, I got to listen to the entire album, so I did. And to my perspective, it changed drastically with the backside of the album. We went from a kind of a poppy, kind of cheesy kind of lyric songs to these very progressive stuff that came out on the backside. So it's almost telling a story of, based on listening to it and what I heard, it sounds like the story is about people on Earth loading a starship and going to a new place. Maybe I'm wrong, but that's what it sounds like. Okay, so the opening track, I'm not going to talk too much anymore about the front half of the album. The back half of the album, I think, is very good. The opening track, Children of the Sun, some nice drum and synthesizer parts here at the opening, really setting an atmosphere for a very different side of an album. And I found it kind of mysterious. I didn't know what was going to happen. The guitar solos were strong on this track too. Some really catchy guitar riffs. What else can I say? Very clear sounding, nice production sound on this whole album, actually, not just this side of the album. I found the bass, and as soon as that prominent bass started playing on the second half, I thought this is going to be different than what I've heard up to now, and I was absolutely right. It's a heavier song, more progressive elements to it. probably the most progressive track at that point. And I thought, okay, well, it's good that I have at least one progressive track that I like on the album, so I have something I can give to Ben for my favorite song. However, it got better. The next track out, and actually it got better pretty much up till almost to the end. The next track out is We're Looking. That track was called Children of the Sun. This one is We're Leaving. So it's, they're talking about leaving Earth. Some long, heavy beats here, lots of good riffing, lots of kind of, there's this kind of part where it gets to a part at the end of the heavy riff, and they just do this kind of guitar mellow kind of piecing part. I don't know, it's like a little fill, but it lasts for a fairly lengthy time. Just him playing the guitar. It's almost like they're leaving and exiting the solar system almost. That's what it feels like. I must say that this, up to this point, I did get a kind of a flashback to the Steve Miller Band. There was that kind of a flash in there. They put that in my mind when they were playing that Children of the Sun. Just kind of reminded me of some of those progressive elements in the Steve Miller stuff, which I haven't listened to for a very long time. I used to be a huge Steve Miller fan. I don't listen to him much anymore, but I get that feel from that. The next track is probably my favorite on this album. It's called We Welcome You. That's the name of the track. Obviously, they've arrived wherever they're going. The guitar is kind of mellow, kind of a mellow guitar riff to open this, and then it's punctuated by these kind of drum and guitar outbursts. So you got this mellow bit, and every once in a while this be this kind of little bit of a heavy part, like a fill. And there's like 2 or 3 of them. I don't know how many, but there was a few of them. Then it has a real crunchy riff here, and the solo was really good. Probably the best solo on the album. I just really like this track a lot. So much so I played it twice, and then I started moving on again. The next track, Solar Anthem. Obviously, they've arrived where they are, and they're setting up shop, and now they're starting to develop themselves here. This is kind of a church organ opening. It's this very short piece, like maybe less than a minute, just a build up to the last track, which is the beginning, and it's got some really solemn vocals. And they're still telling this story. The atmosphere, there's some nice atmospheric bit, and then a bit spacey kind of synthesizer part here, which I think is catchy. It does pick up speed as it goes along. This track is kind of mellow at the beginning, and it just gradually gets heavier and picks up speed as it goes along, and it forms into more of a I wrote a word here and I can't make out what it is. Yeah, picks up, it builds is what it does. The track starts out kind of mellow, very kind of spacey sounding, and then it kind of builds up into this hard rockin' type of part that comes towards the end. Kind of reminiscent to what you would get with the end of 2112 by Rush, where they, it starts building to this climactical end of their journey, and like in the case of 2112, they were freed from the priest of the temples of Syrinx. Here, they're kind of freed from their old life in the old solar system and have built a new life here and wherever they have landed. That's what it sounds like to me. Now, I haven't done any reading on this, so I don't know. I could be completely off the mark here, but I don't think I am. So the back half of the album to me is really good. Front half of the album was a waste of vinyl. I've never had an album with. I can't think of a single album with so much discrepancy. Like they have gone from. I absolutely was thinking, this is. I don't really want to listen to this. It's like not really what I like. To this is really quite good. So it went from one extreme to the other, but. That back half of the album, really solid. And my favorite track, as I said, was We Welcome You. It's kind of the middle of the 5 tracks at the back. And the album cover is really decent. When I saw the album cover, I thought this could be quite interesting. And then when I started listening to it, I thought, So I went from a wide range of emotions, from disappointment and one of those two, like, wow, this is quite good. So there you have it. So I hope that you get a chance to listen to this album. I highly recommend listening to it. And you will find some stuff here that you'll find really quite good. So anyways, have yourself a good evening. Please don't forget to like and subscribe. It's much appreciated. Any comments about the album or any information that you think I should know, please put them in the comment section as well. So we will be back next week with another episode of the Great Album Challenge. So we will see you then. Take care.